Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Soul Land 2 episode number 112 based on novel. So let's start. You eliminated the Earth Dragon sect. Do you think we still have rooms? Then there's no choice. Third brother is right. I don't think the organizing team will give us a new room. How about you pay for your own room? Nan Chocho's face turned green as she said, "Are you pretending to be stupid or are you really stupid? Is there even a hotel with an empty room during the tournament? Furthermore, now that I'm part of the Tang sect, shouldn't you arrange for a place for me to stay?" Everyone looked at Hu Yuhao with schadenfreude. Shusansha tapped his elbow and said, "Yuhao, you brought this upon yourself. Solve it yourself." With that, he casually walked off with Jiang Nannan. Hu Yuhao replied, "Nan Chocho, the situation as you see it. The Tang sect had 10 members before you joined. In total, we have 5 rooms. You can pick any room you want. However, regardless of who you stay with, someone will have to squeeze." "So?" Nan Chocho rolled her eyes. Suddenly, she had a plan as she said, "Then I shall room with you." "Ah!" Hu Yuhao looked at her in shock. "Guys and girls shouldn't room together." Nan Chocho said, "We're all soul masters, what's there to be ashamed of? There's no need to think so much, I'll sleep on the sofa. Let's go, bring me to your room." With that, the maiden turned to leave. Hu Yuhao looked at her disappearing figure in shock. Then, he turned to Wang Donga, who was next to him and said, "Does she want to room with me, or does she want to room with you? She probably guessed that we're rooming together. Donga, you are really too attractive." Wang Donga smiled slightly and said, "That's right, you are getting smarter." Hu Yuhao suddenly flew into a full-on panic mode. No, she can't room with us. Let's go." He suddenly realized that with Nan Chocho around as a third wheel, how could he be intimate with Donga? When they were back on their floor, Nan Chocho was already waiting for them outside of their door, guided there by Shusansha. "Chocho, listen to me, we're all guys. It's really inconvenient to have a girl like you around. It's much more normal for you to room with Sister Xian or Xiao Xiao. For a young lady like you, don't you care about your honor?" Nan Chocho looked at the troubled expression on Hu Yuhao's face and her heart swooped in delight. "How can I not care about my honor? I'm not sleeping with you. I trust you. Look at you. While you're strong, I don't think you'll do anything bad. You, regardless who it was, all guys would react the same way when their ability in a certain aspect was questioned." Hu Yuhao was so angry he could not say anything for quite some time. With much difficulty, he spurted out, "What about him? He's normal." He pointed at Wang Donga. Nan Chocho replied without hesitation, "How can you compare to him? You're a liar. Anyone can see that Wang Dong is a true gentleman who won't take advantage of others. Am I right, Wang Dong?" "Yes, you're right," Wang Donga said with a dazzling smile. While she did not want another girl in the room, she found Hu Yuhao's current state extremely amusing. Her childish desires were piqued as she went along with Nan Chocho's flow. "Open the door," Nan Chocho said as she pointed at it. Wang Donga opened the door and Nan Chocho walked in first. While the room was not big, it was very clean. Wang Donga had cleaned the room herself. After they checked in, she had told the hotel reception that there was no need to clean their room for them. She liked to take care of Hu Yuhao herself. Nan Chocho sat on the sofa and said, "Right, I'll sleep here temporarily. I won't fight for a spot with a cripple." Why do you two guys share one bed?" Hu Yuhao and Wang Donga's room only had one double bed, and not 2 single beds like most rooms. Wang Donga said naturally, "So I can take care of him. It's hard for him to move around." Nan Chocho's eyes gleamed as she sighed in admiration. "Wang Dong, you're so kind. You treat this despicable, pretentious, and shameless guy so well." Hu Yuhao felt that before he could correct this girl's bad habits, she would make him die from anger. "What's wrong?" Nan Chocho said gleefully. As she looked at Hu Yuhao in this state, she was happy beyond word. Hu Yuhao's eyes flashed, and a smile appeared on his face once more as he said, "Wang Dong, carry me onto the bed, I want to rest for a while. I've been busy for the entire morning and I'm tired." "All right," Wang Donga said. When she heard that he was tired, her heart ached. Normally, with Hu Yuhao's resilience, he would not throw the word tired around easily. Immediately, she bent over to lift him from the wheelchair and carry him toward the bed. "Wait a moment," Hu Yuhao suddenly said. "What's wrong?" Wang Donga asked. Hu Yuhao stared deeply into her light blue eyes and said dramatically, "Donga, I love you." Wang Donga paused momentarily. Soon, she melted in front of Hu Yuhao's gaze as she replied softly, "I love you too." Hu Yuhao wrapped his only movable right arm around her neck as he lifted his head. Then, he kissed her tender, soft, red lips. After a brief kiss, he let go. Wang Donga had already gotten used to his sneaky kisses after all this while. She also started to view herself as Hua Yuhao's wife, and hence, she did not mind being kissed by him. However, because of that dramatic I love you, she almost completely forgot that there was someone else in the room with them. Ah! A piercing scream sounded. It rose a few dozen decibels instantly, and seemed capable of bringing the entire Brilliant Delight Hotel down. Even those on the top floor could hear this scream clearly. Wang Donga was so alarmed by the scream that she almost threw Hua Yuhao out of her arms. At this moment, she realized that Nan Chocho was still in the room. At this moment, she was still in disguise as a guy. You too. Nan Chocho pointed at Hua Yuhao and Wang Donga as her red lips trembled. An incredulous look appeared in her eyes. Hua Yuhao looked at her in pity and said calmly, "In this world, there are many types of love that you wouldn't understand. I was angry just now because you intruded into Dongus and my private space. However, we have thought this through. Since you aren't afraid of having needles in your eyes and you insist on watching us, then watch away. We don't care anyway. Wang Dong, you're actually..." Nan Chocho pointed at Wang Donga as her voice trembled more and more. Wang Donga looked at Hua Yuhao, who was smiling helplessly. She continued his charade for him and said, "Chocho, you can't discount homosexual love." "Actually..." "Shut up," Nan Chocho screamed. She turned and ran out of the room. She pulled the door open and disappeared instantly. She did not forget to close the door, but slammed it with such intensity that it made both Hua Yuhao and Wang Donga tremble. "You're too naughty." Wang Donga carefully placed Hua Yuhao on his bed, and a helpless smile crossed her face. Hua Yuhao did not let go of her neck as he chuckled and said, "She pissed me off first. She questioned my ability as a man. That's unforgivable. Furthermore, I'm helping you solve a problem too. If not, she'll bother you non-stop." Wang Donga stifled a laugh and said, "However, you're affecting her worldview." Hua Yuhao said, with her temper, "It's alright to shock her every once in a while. I suspect that she's going to find Sister Xian and the rest, though I wonder if they'll tell her that you're a girl." Wang Donga bit her lips gently and said, "With Sister Xian's troublemaking personality, what do you think she'll say? Poor Chocho. She's right, you are a bad boy." Hua Yuhao pulled her into his embrace and said, "So what if I'm bad? I'm your bad boy, and your silly boy, so good. All guys will have to be these two boys. Hee, nap with me." Hua Yuhao did not know what happened to Nan Chocho afterward. After they ate, the pale-faced maiden sat as far from them as possible. All she did was eat. She did, however, appear much more docile. Jing Xian could not help but look meaningfully at Hua Yuhao and Wang Donga. The first elimination round of the tournament ended after 2 days. In total, half of the 167 teams were eliminated. Instantly, the Brilliant Delight Hotel became much emptier. Every single team that made it past the first round was assigned new rooms. The Tang sect was sent to the 3rd floor, which was much more spacious than the 2nd floor. Furthermore, since they passed the first round, the organizing team agreed to their request for one more room. Hence, Nan Chocho was given an additional room. Among the 167 teams, there were still 84 left. Shrek Academy did not take part in the first round. In the past few days, Hua Yuhao and the Tang sect did not see anyone from Shrek Academy. Wang Choa and Dai Huabin seemed to have disappeared. As faint light flashed, a cold light appeared on Hua Yuhao's face. His eyes flashed with light, and the air around him distorted. Whoosh! He swallowed the purple light and cultivated its essence. With this, he ended his morning cultivation. Wang Donga stood next to him. She was cultivating her purple demon eyes too, but her eyes were much weaker than Hua Yuhao's. After all, she did not have a martial soul like the spirit eyes that was helpful in cultivating her purple demon eyes. Round 2. Shrek Academy will be competing today, right? Wang Donga asked Hua Yuhao. Yes, Hua Yuhao nodded in confirmation. He had an indescribable feeling towards Wang Choa. He was sure that it wasn't love. He had given all his love to Wang Donga. But he couldn't break away from Wang Choa. It was an affection that seemed to bind their blood together. It was something that Hua Yuhao couldn't understand. The second elimination round started. As the first elimination round took too long, there wasn't a break between it and the second elimination round. After the duels ended yesterday, the lot drawing for the second round commenced immediately. The Tang sect would be competing tomorrow. Today, Shrek Academy was going to compete. As the legendary team in the tournament, many people were waiting for them to compete. In the previous tournament, they had managed to create a miracle even though the circumstances were unfavorable for them. Could they do the same in this tournament? No one knew the answer. The inclusion of sects made the tournament more worth watching, but also made it much more unpredictable. After the first round, 56 of the remaining 84 teams came from sects. That was 2/3 of the teams left in the tournament. This showed how powerful sects were. However, there were some traditional academy teams which were true powerhouses, such as the Star Luo National Academy and the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy. The resting area was much more spacious now. The seats had also been rearranged. The Tang sect, which had obtained full 12 points in the first elimination round, was guided to the pergola. This was the VIP resting area. Only the strongest teams could rest here. The second elimination round is about to commence. Everyone, please stay silent. The reigning champions and winners of all of the previous editions of the tournament, Shrek Academy, will be competing today. The Sun Moon Empire's citizens didn't have a good impression of Shrek Academy. It was because of Shrek Academy that the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy always came in second in the tournament. When they heard the words Shrek Academy, many of the spectators started booing. Huo Yuhao could see many things much more clearly as he entered the VIP resting area. Although the Tang sect had managed to gain access into this area due to their impressive performance in the previous round, they could only sit at the sides. Shrek's Academy team was in the center of the VIP resting area. They were next to the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy, the Holy Ghost sect, and other strong teams. Huo Yuhao also noticed another team. They were on the other side of the VIP resting area. He had noticed this team on the second day of the tournament. They had seemed to be very average, but their martial souls couldn't be concealed. They were from the body sect. However, they were doing their best to conceal their abilities. Apart from these few teams he had taken note of, Huo Yuhao's expression suddenly changed as he unleashed his spiritual detection. Almost every team in this VIP resting area was extraordinary. From what he sensed, there were very few competing members that had less than 5 rings. Most of them were at least Soul Kings. Huo Yuhao was only a Soul King himself. Although his spiritual detection was great, his judgment of the aura of those beyond his cultivation wasn't fully accurate. However, it was still good enough for him to tell how strong or weak a team was. Wang Chua was sitting on a chair at the very front of Shrek Academy's team. Huo Yuhao discovered that Dai Huabin, Ning Tian, Zhu Lu, Wu Feng and the others behind her appeared very resolute. After not seeing them for some time, they seemed to have matured greatly. At the very least they were less impatient. It seemed like the pressure from the tournament wasn't entirely a bad thing. Huo Yuhao was impressed. Second elimination round. The first fight will be between Shrek Academy and the Heavenly Armor sect. Both parties, please enter your waiting areas. The voice coming from the main stage announced the beginning of the second elimination round. Heavenly Armor sect. Huo Yuhao felt that this name was very familiar. He immediately recalled how he had met the disciplined Heavenly Armor sect before they came to Radiant City. They were all riding hornscale horses from the Doling Empire. The Heavenly Armor sect had even left a deep impression on him. He hadn't expected them to have to face Shrek Academy in the second round. Both parties entered their respective waiting areas. As expected, the 7 from Shrek Academy were Wang Chua, Dai Huabin, Zhu Lu, Ning Tian, Xia Huanyue, Wu Feng, and Cao Jinshen. Zhu Sik-hen, Lan Susu, and Lan Luoluo were seated beneath the stage as substitutes. They weren't able to compete today. The Heavenly Armor sect wasn't in the VIP resting area, they were still in the resting area outside. Huo Yuhao unleashed his spiritual detection, and immediately sensed Han Zhanhu choosing the competing members for the Heavenly Armor sect. He could sense the tense nerves of the Heavenly Armor sect's competing members. Shrek Academy was extremely reputable. They had built that reputation with their ability for thousands of years. The Heavenly Armor sect was simply too unlucky to have drawn Shrek Academy. After making it through the first round, they had met Shrek Academy in only the second round. Han Zhanhu was helpless. Since they had met Shrek Academy, what could they do? They could only go all out against them. This was the idea that he planted in his disciples' heads after the lot was drawn. It was a rare opportunity for them to fight Shrek Academy. At least they could have a taste of the abilities and fighting strategies of the top academy on the continent. The 7 competing members from both sides entered the waiting area. The referee said loudly, individual elimination round. First members from both teams, please enter the stage. A muscular youth from the Heavenly Armor sect jumped onto the stage as the spectators watched. Dai Huabin was the first from Shrek Academy to compete. What? Huo Yuhao gently exclaimed. As he watched Wang Chua's back, the look in his eyes changed. She's not the first to compete. This is unlike her. Wang Donga also muttered under her breath. Huo Yuhao clapped his hand against hers and said, they're really smart. It seems like she really values this tournament. To conserve her abilities and fight in a balanced manner, she's managed to remain patient. It won't be easy for us either, if we meet them. Wang Donga said, it's better not to meet them. It's not good for us to go against one another. Huo Yuhao smiled and replied, let's see how our luck is. If we don't meet them in the next round, we should be able to last until the finals. Dai Huabin was much fitter than before. He entered the stage confidently. Both parties greeted each other in front of the referee. Shrek Academy, Dai Huabin. Heavenly Armor sect, Han Yu. The referee repeated the rules of the tournament once more and emphasized that neither of them should intentionally kill their opponent. Otherwise, they would be punished. After that, he let the 2 of them retreat and prepare for the fight. While Dai Huabin appeared very calm, he was actually very anxious. He was finally here at the tournament. Even though he was a substitute, he was still finally here. After years of tireless cultivation, he finally had a chance to display his prowess. Dad, elder brother, wait and see. I'll definitely show how good I am. He bumped his fists together in front of his chest. A strong competitive intent was exuded from his body. He cracked his knuckles and stared at his opponent. Right now, he was like a famished and ferocious tiger. Match, start. The referee swiped his right hand down. Dai Huabin shot out like a ferocious tiger. However, he didn't unleash his strengthening skills like he always did. He only unleashed his martial soul. 2 yellow, 2 purple, and 1 black soul ring, the best combination. White hair grew from his body, and he expanded in size as he unleashed his white tiger. If someone else had such a cultivation, everyone would be terrified. However, it was apt that Dai Huabin possessed such a martial soul, since he was representing Shrek Academy. The youth from the Heavenly Armor sect didn't rush forward. Han Yu looked very calm, and also unleashed his own martial soul. 2 yellow, 2 purple, and 1 black soul ring also appeared, once again the best combination for a soul king. A pitch-black, hexagonal piece of metal flew out from his body before it condensed to form a hexagonal shield. The shield was dense and heavy, and formed from proportionate pieces of scales. After unleashing his martial soul, Han Yu took big strides towards Dai Huabin as his aura continued to soar. With a roar, Dai Huabin's speed increased rapidly. His thick and strong legs unleashed great force. The speed at which he was moving was so fast that an illusory projection seemed to drag along behind him. He slammed his tiger palm towards Han Yu. Han Yu did the opposite. As he was bursting forward, he suddenly stomped his left leg and came to an abrupt stop. As he stopped, he unleashed his heavenly armor shield. The Heavenly Armor sect was a family sect. All of its disciples were descendants and relatives, and they possessed almost the same martial soul, the Heavenly Armor shield. Bang! It was only the first strike, but Dai Huabin demonstrated how powerful he was. Their cultivations were at the same level, and his opponent had used a shield to defend against him, but his palm strike forced Han Yu back more than 3 meters. Han Yu's feet even made sparks as he slid across the metal surface. Dai Huabin's sharp tiger claws had left 5 deep marks on the shield. This was a direct collision, a probing attack and defense. Neither party used soul skills. In terms of strength, the winner was clear. Dai Huabin didn't stop moving. At the same time as he struck his opponent, he opened his mouth wide, and a streak of white light shot out of it. It was his second soul skill, White Tiger's fierce light wave. A loud boom resonated, and Han Yu retreated once again. His first and second soul rings lit up, and the surface of the heavenly armor shield shone like a mirror. As the White Tiger's fierce light wave shone on it and the scales of the armor undulated in a weird fashion, many small streaks of white light were reflected away, immediately diverting a large portion of the wave's impact. At the same time, the heavenly armor shield shifted, and 16 hexagonal scales flew out of it towards Dai Huabin. The sides of every scale were like sharp blade. Defense and counterattack. Han Yu was very steady in front of Dai Huabin. In terms of abilities and psychological mindset, he was excellently trained. Dai Huabin acted like he didn't see the armor scales. He burst forward again, and his first soul ring lit up. A layer of white surfaced on his body. Just as the shield scales were about to cut into him, a white light spread out and deflected all of them away. Although they turned and flew back towards him, Dai Huabin had already reached Han Yu in this short span of time. Dai Huabin roared again, and everything in front of Han Yu turned black. Following this, his tiger palm struck the heavenly armor shield forcefully again. Han Yu's heavenly armor shield was adept at countering long-range energy attacks, just like how it dealt with the White Tiger's fierce light wave earlier. However, it was helpless against such physical attacks. However, he was still a defense-type soul master. Noticing that something was amiss, he immediately squatted down, and the sharp base of the shield stabbed into the metal floor. He leaned the entire shield back and used it to resist Dai Huabin's attack at an angle. At the same time, his third soul ring lit up. The 16 pieces of shield scales in the air turned fiery red, as if they had been heated in a forge, and flew towards Dai Huabin with a piercing screech. It was Han Yu's third soul skill, Meteoric Fire Armor. He had to attack his enemy at a vital spot. Han Yu was very confident in his 1000-year soul skill, the Meteoric Fire Armor. In his opinion, Dai Huabin would find it difficult to deal with his double-pronged attack even though he was very strong as a close combat soul master. However, he didn't expect Dai Huabin to ignore the Meteoric Fire Armor and continue to reach for the heavenly armor shield with his right palm. A terrifying and huge force was exerted on the shield. It was different from the forceful push earlier. This time, it was an intense jerk that came from Dai Huabin's tiger palm. Han Yu was so shaken that he almost spat blood. He could feel that his shield was about to be crushed. He even heard painful sounds coming from the armor scales that formed the shield. However, Han Yu was also very excited now. That was because his Meteoric Fire Armor had already reached Dai Huabin. It was impossible for him to resist or dodge at this moment. The 16 scales had blocked off his escape route. Did he really not realize it? Dai Huabin answered his doubt instantly. His white hair released an extremely intense golden light. His body expanded, and his tiger palm seemed to stick to the heavenly armor shield. As he lifted his palm up, he used his right elbow to hit the shield with incredible force. Dang! Boom! 2 different sounds could be heard at the same time. When the scales struck Dai Huabin's body, they were bounced away again. He didn't even seem to feel their impacts at all, and resisted the blows easily. The tremendous boom that sounded was caused by his right elbow as it struck the shield. Han Yu didn't expect Dai Huabin to use such a method to resist his attack. He was completely unprepared for this strike. The heavenly armor shield was blown apart. Dai Huabin continued to burst forward in a dominant fashion, and slammed into Han Yu's chest with his shoulder. As his shield was crushed, Han Yu's defense was crippled, and he was bleeding profusely. His arms were in great pain. Everything happened too quickly, and he couldn't use a stronger soul skill anymore. He also needed time to retract his scales. Right now, he was like a turtle that had lost the protection of its shell. He was in front of Dai Huabin in his weakest state. The only thing he could do was raise his soul power and push his palms out towards Dai Huabin. Boom! From the spectator's view, Han Yu was like a fired cannon shell as he was knocked back. He flew more than 10 meters and struck the protective barriers surrounding the stage before he was bounced back to the floor. He couldn't get up after that. Dai Huabin stopped and calmly turned around. He walked back towards the center of the stage. From the start until the end, this was a very short fight. Dai Huabin had demonstrated his great fighting strength. Han Yu had the same number of soul rings as he did. As a defense-type soul king above rank 50, he didn't even have the chance to unleash his 4th and 5th soul skill before he lost. This was the gap in their abilities. Dai Huabin gave off a very barbaric and ruthless air. Many people were stunned by his performance. Wang Donga was in shock as she noted, he has been greatly affected by Choa. Hua Yuhao's lips moved slightly, his actual combat ability has greatly increased. Although his fighting style is very simple and violent, he's much calmer than before. He also aptly used his White Tiger's Vajra transformation. Wang Donga nodded agreement and said, yes. However, this is also a good thing. After all, they are representing Shrek. Choa has brought about great change to them. Shrek Academy didn't slip up against the Heavenly Armor sect in the second elimination round. They used their dominant abilities and ruthless fighting style to win. Dai Huabin overwhelmed his opponents yet again. There were fewer and fewer boos from the spectators. What was the use of boos in front of them, since they were so strong? However, Dai Huabin conceded defeat before he fought the third competing member from the Heavenly Armor sect and left the stage. Oh, what kind of momentum is this? Shu Sanxia muttered to himself, curious about what was going on. Wu Feng was already on the stage, and walking towards the center of it. Dai Huabin can obviously still fight. Why did he concede defeat? Is it because he's not confident? Impossible. With his character, he won't know when to stop. Xiao Xiao was also confused. Hua Yuhao squinted. This must be a strategy Choa arranged. She's training them so that they can get used to the tempo of the tournament. After all, it's their first time. Hua Yuhao was right. This was her strategy, helping them gain experience so that they could fight better. It was only through continuous fighting that they could increase their abilities and demonstrate what they had learned over this period of time. This also made them more confident. Otherwise, Wang Choa would have been able to defeat the entire Heavenly Armor sect on her own. Wu Feng's opponent was also using the Heavenly Armor shield. Match, start. As the referee shouted, Wu Feng's eyes lit up. Burning dragon scales started to surface throughout her entire body. As she leapt out, the air around her started to form ripples from the heated air around her. This member from the Heavenly Armor sect had learned from the lessons of the two previous competitors, and immediately unleashed his offensive skills. He unleashed 2 soul skills at the same time. His meteoric fire armor was sent flying towards Wu Feng. The hot-tempered Wu Feng didn't choose to directly resist the armor, her petite figure blurring as she dodged the attack. She didn't move as swiftly as Tang Sect's Ghost Shadow perplexing track, but she was quick. Dragon roars could be heard rising from her body. Every time her body twisted, supernatural changes started to occur. From the looks of it, her body only seemed to distort slightly before she dodged the meteoric fire armor scales flying at her. However, her body moved countless times in that instant. Hua Yuhao turned his attention to Wang Choa, who was in the waiting area. He had seen such a similar dodging movement from her. Wu Feng must have had been taught by Wang Choa, as they both had dragon-type martial souls. As a possessor of ultimate strength, there were many things that Wang Choa could teach Wu Feng. It seemed like Wu Feng had improved as much as Dai Huabin. Wu Feng let out a deep dragon's roar. After dodging the attack, her speed soared again as she burst towards her opponent. The youth from the Heavenly Armor sect was already prepared. Without any hesitation, he unleashed his strongest 4th soul skill. Yes, he was a soul ancestor just like the second competing member from the sect. The outward bulge on the Heavenly Armor shield turned into an inward bulge. Several streaks of red light started to reflect from the mirrored surfaces of the armor. They were reflected towards a single point, converting into a beam of fire that shot towards Wu Feng. Heavenly Armor Needle, a single target offensive soul skill. It was as strong as a 10,000-year soul skill. Its penetrating abilities perfectly demonstrated the strength of the Heavenly Armor shield. The Heavenly Armor Needle was unleashed at the correct moment. It was at the instant when Wu Feng dodged the meteoric fire armor scales, so it was impossible for her to dodge anymore. She hadn't expected the meteoric fire armor scales to be a trap. In fact, Dai Huabin had defeated the meteoric fire armor twice already. No one in the Heavenly Armor sect was confident in this soul skill anymore. Without a special method, there was no chance of victory against a 5-ringed soul master, especially since he was only a 4-ringed soul master. The Heavenly Armor Needle was his only chance. However, Wu Feng had been through tough training, and was tortured by Wang Chua mercilessly almost every day. It wasn't that easy to defeat her. Even though she couldn't compare to Hua Yuhao, her advantage over other soul masters was still very evident. As Wu Feng opened her mouth, she spewed flames to counter the Heavenly Armor Needle. Her third soul ring lit up as she slowed the needle down, and she punched out at it. The space around Wu Feng distorted furiously and turned dark red. It felt as if she had collapsed after she unleashed her fist. Her entire fist also turned scarlet red. Boom! A scarlet red ball of light blew apart. Undulations of terrifying fiery soul power spread for more than 10 meters before they dissipated. Intense flames spread everywhere, and the youth from the Heavenly Armor sect was blown more than 10 meters back. His Heavenly Armor shield cracked. While the Heavenly Armor Needle was strong, he only had 4 rings. Against Wu Feng's 5 rings, it wasn't at all easy for him to achieve victory. Wu Feng's third soul skill, Explosive Dragon Mouth, crushed the Heavenly Armor shield with its immense destructive force, and also forced her opponent into helpless retreat. Shrek Academy won the 3rd round. Her next opponent was another 4-ringed soul ancestor. His martial soul was also the Heavenly Armor shield. Wu Feng didn't slip up. Just like Dai Huabin, Wu Feng left the stage after she won 2 consecutive rounds, ending her participation in today's elimination round. By conceding defeat, it meant that Shrek Academy couldn't progress directly into the next round through the individual elimination round. They had to go through the team round, too. The third from Shrek Academy to compete was Xia Huanyue. He also announced his defeat after winning 2 consecutive rounds. Shrek Academy lost 3 rounds at this stage after sending 3 competing members up, whereas 6 from the Heavenly Armor sect had been eliminated. They were only left with 1 member. We admit defeat for the individual elimination round. The youth sitting in front of the entire Heavenly Armor sect's team in the waiting area exclaimed. He was the team leader of their squad, Han Jian. There wasn't much meaning in continuing the individual elimination round. Rather than lose again, it was better for them to risk everything during the team round. The few competing members of the Heavenly Armor sect were all injured from the previous few fights, but they would still be able to compete in the team round. The individual elimination round is over. Shrek Academy is left with 4 members. They have 4 points, while the Heavenly Armor sect has 0 points. After a 2-minute break, the team round will be conducted. Both parties, please prepare. Even though most of the previous teams had only emerged victorious in the team round, many people were still disappointed with Shrek Academy. After all, there were a few teams that managed to qualify after dominating their individual elimination rounds. Right now, the rest of the 6 members of Shrek Academy's team were in front of Wang Chua. 12 eyes were now focused on her. Wang Chua nodded and said, "We'll fight in the team round like we practiced. Triangular formation. Do all of you understand?" Yes, the rest of them acknowledged her order. After 2 minutes, the team members from both sides lined up along the center of the competition stage. The referee said, "This will be the same as the individual elimination round. Both teams will retreat to the sides and wait for my order. Anyone who loses his fighting strength will be considered eliminated, and he can't continue to attack either. We'll try our best to minimize injuries and deaths." Understood? Yes. Yes. The team leaders from both sides acknowledged the referee's words. Right now, Han Jian seemed to be in a daze. It was because Wang Chua was too pretty. Although Wang Chua was wearing a white veil right now, her powdery blue hair, perfect body ratio and bright eyes could still be seen. Han Jian felt his heart beating faster even though he had only glanced at her. He hurriedly lowered his head and didn't dare to continue looking at her. Wang Chua didn't have any expression in her eyes. She took her team members and withdrew to one side of the stage, standing in the forefront. Slightly behind, and to her left and right were Wu Feng and Dai Huabin. Zhu Lu was behind Dai Huabin, while Xia Huanyue was behind Wu Feng. Cao Jinxian and Ning Tian were behind Wang Chua. It was an accurate triangular formation formed by the 7 of them. The Heavenly Armor sect took on a different formation. They formed an arc, which was very rare in a team fight. Even though an arc-shaped formation could be regarded as a half-encirclement, its single line of defense made it very vulnerable to exploitation. Once the competing members were separated, they would lose. Since they had formed up in this manner, it showed that they had some special fighting method. In the VIP resting area, Hua Yuhao was pensive as he said, "The Heavenly Armor sect team looks confident. Along with their weird formation and similar martial souls, they must possess some kind of special ability." Jiang Nannan was a little worried as she said, "They won't lose, right? After all, they are representing the academy. Shrek Academy's glory was very important to all of them." Hua Yuhao shook his head and said, "All plans are futile against an absolute power. At a certain level of cultivation, using special methods might not be enough to change the situation of a fight. Let's see. Since the Heavenly Armor sect is so confident, I'm sure they must have some way of competing." His confidence in Shrek Academy arose from Wang Chua's presence. On the tournament stage, the 7 Heavenly Armor Sect team members were lined up neatly. Although some of them looked pale, as they had been injured, they didn't appear weak. Their gazes were filled with an unyielding desire for victory. Match, start. The referee swiped his right hand down and retreated quickly at the same time. On Shrek Academy's side, 7 people moved at the same time. They burst towards their opponents together. Not only were they neatly arranged, but they were also extremely quick. Wang Chua lifted her right hand. 2 yellow, 2 purple, and 2 black soul rings rose from her feet. Although she was wearing a veil, her moving figure and long, swaying hair still left a deep impression. Xiao Hongchen was in a daze as he looked at the stage. He muttered to himself, "Why do I find this team leader from Shrek so familiar? Have I seen her before? It'd be great if she could take off her veil." Meng Hongchen snorted. "You always find pretty girls familiar." He coughed quickly. "Give me some face in front of the rest." Xiao Hongchen snapped at his sister. On the tournament stage, once Shrek Academy's team burst off, the Heavenly Armor Sect team also acted immediately. However, they didn't burst forward, but only unleashed their heavenly armor shields at the same time. 7 shields appeared at the same time. Following this, the 7 of them shouted at the same time. Then they threw the shields in their hands out. The 7 shields flew through the air, and a series of metallic clanging sounds rang out. Their 7 shields were broken down and converted into hexagonal scales. Was this an attack of scales converted from shields? Most people had the same thought. However, the expressions of everyone from the Tang sect changed at this moment. Hua Yuhao blurted out almost instantly, "A 7-man fusion skill?" As he was speaking, the scales started to gather at the center of the stage. Suddenly, a huge heavenly armor shield was formed and drifting in mid-air. The entire shield exuded a sinister aura. Following this, the hexagonal scales started to turn red, so brightly polished it resembled the surface of a mirror. The 4th soul rings of the Heavenly Armor Sect disciples lit up. Every one of them released intense soul power undulations. A 7-man fusion skill and martial soul fusion skills were completely different. More accurately speaking, a 7-man fusion skill was formed by overlaps. They were usually overlaps of identical martial souls, gathering the strength of all these martial souls to unleash an attack. They required the martial souls and soul skills to be the same, so that they could be unleashed together once a sufficient level of coordination was achieved. Compared to the qualitative changes of martial soul fusion skills, 7-man fusion skills were slightly weaker. However, it was a killer move for sects that had certain types of martial souls. As the 7 shields gathered to form a huge shield, unleashing the same type of skill, it was equivalent to a combination of 7 identical soul skills tied together to form one soul skill. Its strength was incredible. Something as magical as this hadn't appeared in the tournament for ages, as sects had not been allowed to compete in earlier editions of the tournament. This was also the reason why the Sun Moon Empire proposed that sects be recognized again. Only sects possessed many soul masters with the same martial soul. This was very difficult to find in an academy, and most academies wouldn't bother trying to develop such a fusion skill, either. Many years had passed, but such a fusion skill had finally appeared in the tournament again after sects were once again allowed to compete. The entire Shrek team, even Wang Chua, felt a sense of crisis once the heavenly armor shield was fully formed. It was as if a formidable, savage beast had appeared in front of them, and was baring its teeth at them. This video will end here. Thank you for watching.